Days gone. A virus has decimated the globe, turning a large portion of humanity into violent zombie-like creatures called freakers. In the near future, outlaw bikers Deacon, Saint John and William Boozer Gray, alongside Deacon's wife Sarah Whitaker, attempts to flee to safety. They find a Nero helicopter that has room for 2 more occupants. While Sarah boards the helicopter, Boozer is injured and Deacon stays behind to help him after promising to reunite with his wife. Alien Isolation. 15 years later, Amanda, now a Wayland Yutani employee, hears that the flight recorder of her mother's ship, the Nostromo, has been recovered at the remote trading station Sevastopol. The temptations for her to finally understand what happened is too much to resist. When the crew arrive at Sevastopol, they find something is desperately wrong. It all seems to be connected to an unknown menace, stalking and killing deep in the shadows. In order to uncover the truth about her mother, Amanda is forced to confront the same terrifying thing that separated them.
Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus. Personally, I like the story. Is it great? Well, it's not an Oscar-winning set of moments throughout, but heck, there are some parts that just pulled me and wouldn't let me go. Moments that made everything worth it. The monologuing can be crass, but I enjoyed it. The game's story feels like a fun B-movie.
Horizon Zero Dawn. I love the story. It has a pretty slow start, but after the proving, it gets really fast. The lore was interesting and made me wanted to know more about this weird world. Overall, the story is solid. I also like the visuals.
Assassin's Creed Origins. You follow Bayek of Siwa, an Egyptian badass at the last Medjay of Egypt. He is on the quest to avenge the death of his young son by the hands of masked ones, an order of proto-templars who you chase around all through Egypt. Along the way you will meet characters such as the brotherly Phanos, the cowardly Ptolemy, the seductress Cleopatra and the conniving Julius Caesar. The story is weaved in long and drawn-out quests whose payoff makes it almost worth it.
God of War. Many years have passed since Kratos took his vengeance against the Olympic gods. Having survived his final encounter with his father Zeus, Kratos has since traveled to Midgard in ancient Norway and now lives with his young son Atreus in the world of Norse gods, savage land inhabited by many ferocious monsters and warriors. In order to teach his son how to survive in such a world, Kratos must master the rage that he has been driven for many years and embrace his newfound role as a father and a mentor.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Odyssey's story begins in 480 before Christ, where King Leonidas leads the Spartan army against the Persian charge during the Battle of Thermopylae. The skirmish is won, but Leonidas is informed by a captured enemy that the Persian army has learned of the mountain path and will surround the Spartans by morning. Nevertheless, Leonidas resolves to hold off the Persian advance. In 2018, Layla Hassan recovers Leonidas' spear and extracts it from the DNA of his grandchildren. Alexios and Cassandra to be used for her Animus to find the location of the Staff of Hermes Trismegistus. I'm playing this game right now, so I can say it's a pretty big update from the AC Origins. AC Origins has been released just a year before AC Odyssey. Someday You'll Return is an adventure game with horror/puzzle elements where we play as a grumpy Daniel who should find his daughter as she's lost in the forest. Game starts as a walking simulator, but it changes with a huge amount of small gameplay additions over time. And all these additions are really well made. Even mini games like climbing or breaking through something. Exploration is really important here, while collectibles are incredibly hard to get. Getting all achievements would be complicated even with guides. There's multiple endings that are related to gameplay decisions and additional quests/exploration.
Control. Jessie Faden enters the oldest house seeking the whereabouts of her brother, inadvertently stumbling upon a brewing crisis in the bureau. Through a series of events, she is made the new director of bureau and resolves to help its personnel end the Hiss invasion. I personally have over 15 hours in this action third-person shooter game. I also really like the story and the graphics quality. Metro, Last Light Redux. It is the year 2034. Beneath the ruins of post-apocalyptic Moscow in the tunnels of the Metro, the remnants of mankind are besieged by deadly threats from outside and within. Mutants stalk the catacombs beneath the desolated surface and hunt amidst the poisoned skies above. But rather than stand united, the station cities of the Metro are locked in a struggle for the ultimate power, a doomsday device from the military walls of D6. A civil war is touring that could be wipe humanity from the face of the earth forever. As Artyom, burdened by guilt but driven by hope, you hold the key to our survival, the last light in our darkest hour.
Metro Exodus. The year is 2036, a quarter century after a nuclear war devastated the Earth. A few thousand survivors still cling to existence beneath the ruins of Moscow. In the tunnels of the Metro, they have struggled against the poisoned elements, fought mutated beasts and paranormal horrors. But now as Artyom, you must flee the Metro and lead a band of Spartan Rangers on an incredible, continent-spanning journey across post-apocalyptic Russia in search of a new life in the East. Metro Exodus is an epic, story-driven, first-person shooter from 4A Games that blends deadly combat and stealth with exploration and survival horror in one of the most immersive games worlds ever created. Life is strange too. After a tragic incident, brothers Sean and Daniel Diaz run away from home. Fearing the police and dealing with Daniel's newly manifested telekinetic power, which is the power to move objects with your mind, the boys decide to travel to their father's hometown of Porto Lobos in Mexico for safety. Resident Evil Village. Experience survival horror like never before in the 8th major installment in the storied Resident Evil franchise, Resident Evil Village. Set a few years after the horrifying events in the critically acclaimed Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. The all-new storyline begins with Ethan Winters and his wife Mia living peacefully in a new location, free from their past nightmares. Just as they are building their new life together, tragedy befalls them once again.
Mafia 2 Definitive Edition. The story begins with the player character Vito returning home from World War II. Vito had joined the US Army as a way of avoiding jail time for a botched robbery. Vito reunites with his old friend Joe Barbaro, and the two quickly embark upon a life of crime. Soon enough, Vito, Joe, and Henry Tomasino finds themselves battling with, for, against, and around three crime factions: the Falcone, Vinci, and Clemente families.
Rise of the Tomb Raider is a 2015 action-adventure video game developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Microsoft Studios and Square Enixes. The game begins with a small camp in Siberia where Lara Croft is gazing at the huge mountains that awaits her. Jonah tells her that the others won't be accompanying them anymore except for him. The climb soon becomes challenging, with Lara nearly falling down to her death. As Lara reaches the top, she sees the ruins of Kitez from afar, but the storm strikes the mountain and separates the two. Large amounts of quests and puzzles absolutely brought me into the story, and with that I managed to stay in the game for over 14 hours.
Observation. The year 2026. An accident happened in the International Space Station. The survivor's time is running out and the circumstances are becoming more and more strange. Welcome to Observation, one of the best science fiction games of recent time. Freezing emptiness of endless depth of the universe can make person experience various feelings and emotions, but not that many games or movies can dignifiedly grasp it enough. I finished this game in 7 hours, even though I didn't expect much from it. The game really surprised me.
A Way Out is a cooperative adventure in which you can play as a prisoner that finds a friend which helps him organize an escape plan. While escaping, you will come across multiple obstacles which you and your friend need to overcome. I played this game on local split with my friend, and even though it took him a while to understand how the game works, we managed to complete the game in about 11 hours. I really like playing two-player story games, and that's why I love this gaming title so much. We need to acknowledge that we were very surprised by the ending of this game. And what happened? Well, find that out for yourself.
When you were here before, couldn't look you in the eye. You're dressed like an angel. Your skin makes me cry.
Life is Strange Through Colors. Life is Strange Through Colors is a graphic adventure. The player controls the protagonist Alex Chen to explore various locations in the fictional setting of Heaven Springs and communicate with non-playable characters through the conversation system based on dialogue trees. Alex has psychic empathy powers that allow her to read and manipulate emotions, which she perceives as a colorful auras, to physically see how others feels around her at the cost of being infected by their emotions.
What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. Whatever makes you happy.
It Takes Two. Cody and May, a married couple, are planning to getting a divorce. After telling their daughter Rose the news, she takes her handmade dolls which look like her parents into the family shed and tries to repair their relationship by play acting. The parents find themselves trapped into the dolls' bodies as a consequence of Rose's tears landing on the dolls. Dr. Hawkim, a therapy book, tells May and Cody that he has been given a job to try to fix their relationship as they try to reach the Rose.
Plague Tale Innocence. The main character is a young noblewoman named Amicia, which lost both of her parents in a war, and if that wasn't enough, her younger brother Hugo suffers from an unknown disease. Next to an Inquisition, ubiquitous warriors, and Black Plague after Amicia's thorny way after finding a cure is getting complicated by many flocks of bloodthirsty rats, which blunder through the war-scarred land. Their sharp teeth are able to destroy even the strongest armor, and the only way you can save yourself from them is light. And right actions with light, which on one side repels the rats, but on the other side brings the human enemies, is the key part of the gameplay here.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is an action-adventure game combining wild showdown with logic puzzles, of course presented by a form that are corresponding to the adult audience. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was the first game I played on my computer. And as a true gamer, I played it on hardest difficulty, which extended my playtime by a bit. I finished this game in about 23 hours. Constant dying was not that big of a problem because I was mainly focusing on the visuals and the fantastic story.
Mafia Definitive Edition, a remake of the most famous Czech game of all time, just arrived. The main character here is Tommy Angelo. Even though he rides a taxi for a living, Mafians Polly and Sam from Salieri's gang cross his way, which are being stalked by gangsters from an enemy family. After he helps them, he unfortunately gets into a mafia family and he slowly starts to be the most capable gangster. The story of the original game was nearly flawless, and it's pretty much the same for the remake. I finished this game twice, once using a keyboard and once using a controller. In both cases, I had a great experience. Cyberpunk 2077 is an action-adventure RPG game in an open world located in a metropolis Night City, where you play as a hired cyberpunker that finds himself in a fight for his life. It is about a metropolis possessed by power, charm, and constant body transformations. Cyberpunk 2077 offers great science fiction experience in which you can get lost for hours. It's not about a revolutionary title in its genre, but it brings fresh changes. I personally had spent about 25 hours in the world of Cyberpunk. The size of the world and the story has astonished me. And also I was very lucky because while playing I only spotted about 1 or 2 bugs, which compared to the reviews and videos which I've seen is nothing.
Detroit Become Human, an engaging emotional story of 3 completely different androids whose paths gradually come together. We decide on these paths, we play for each one separately, and with our decisions we develop the following story. There are many paths and possibilities. We act peacefully or aggressively and have minor impact on our future.
You seem lost, Connor. You're lost.
Sure you're not going deep? Androids don't feel.
I was so scared.
It's time to decide.
It's time to decide.
It's time to decide who you really are.
You have to make the choice. Everything remains possible.
You showed empathy. Empathy's a human emotion.
Are you going to save your partner's life, or are you going to sacrifice him? I was just a machine taking orders.
What's it going to be?
I am alive.
Yeah, I've learned a lot since I met you. Maybe you really are alive.
Red Dead Redemption 2, A very impressive game title. I wouldn't even be afraid to say that it's the best game I've ever played, far exceeding my expectations. This game has been around for a few years now, but the graphics are still absolutely unreal. The plot of this game is very extensive and it has never occurred to me that I would not enjoy it. So this is the only game that has absolutely everything for me. It is also the only game that got 10 out of 10 in my rating. My playtime is around 60 hours.
The many miles we walk, the many things we learn, the building of a shrine, only just to burn.